Hi, this is Jeff Wortham. Today's video blog is about tuning into your yard. Now, this is something that you can do as much as you want or as little as you want, but I think you're going to find when you see me walk through my yard and find some of the things that I do that it's probably a good idea to do this as regular as possible just so it doesn't get away from you. The bigger your yard, the more complex it is, the more likelihood that there is something that there is to deal with. And I've already done a preliminary check of my yard, and I think you'll find that there's a surprising amount of things that need some kind of attention. Some of them it's just a matter of minutes, and sometimes it's more than that. And sometimes it's something that you do that saves you time throughout the year. And that's what I want you to tune into. Almost all of my clients talk about wanting low maintenance in their yard, and that's understandable. I'm the same way. One of the things you're going to find in my yard, though, is that mine's a bit different than most of the people I work for in that I'm testing things all the time. I'm using my yard as a learning place on some level, and so I test grow things and I try different things out all the time. So don't take my experience as something that you necessarily would have in your own yard, but use it as something to learn from, and also just as a way to kind of tune in to certain parts of what goes on in the landscape. So let's go take a look in my yard and see what types of things I find, and see if any of these are things that you can relate to in your landscape, and then we'll talk after that. Just looking at different parts of the yard, this is something that I'm noticing is that this bird of paradise is ready to be deadheaded. You see how the flowers are spent, they've lost most of their color, and the petals are turning brown. It's really past it, so that's ready to deadhead. I've got this ground cover down here. This is a campanula. And if you look at those flowers, those leaders are all dried up. The flowers have lost their color. That's ready for deadheading. But look at this over here. This ground cover area is notoriously a pain in my neck. And here's the thing. It's on drip irrigation in this area. And we just had a big hot spell. This corner has never been properly watered. Laziness on my part. So when we had the heat spell, this dried out, and before the heat spell this was covered with this campanula ground cover, and now it's all dry. And these gardenias are stressing out, and I need to take a look and figure out what's causing these leaves to yellow and turn brown the way they are. In my lawn, I've got this weed that's been coming in the last year or so, and I've got a couple of areas where it's gotten in pretty badly. Also, I have a tree nearby that some of the roots have started to sprout some little suckers, and I know how to get rid of that, but I need to do it before this just becomes a bigger headache. This is Chrysanthemum ester reed. They look pretty good, but if you notice, they are starting to brown out. See some of these looking pretty tired? So although it's still primarily white, the decision here is should I just deadhead the whole grouping, selectively take out the brown ones, or wait a week and take them all down at once? That's just one of those things you got to decide. My Sally Holmes rose, it's pretty much done. All of the best part of the show is done, so really this needs to be deadheaded and pulled back so it can start another bloom cycle. This is a white Meadland ground cover rose. If you look, it doesn't look too great. It did a huge show. It's just about done. What's interesting about this is there's always some scragglers behind, so you see there's some nice little flowers there. So what I do with this plant is when it gets to this stage, I come in and I deadhead it. You can see the maintenance video on white Meadland ground cover, And then the white roses that still look good, I cut those and I take them in the house and put them in a vase. That way I can do the whole plant in one cycle. Also, this is the complaint I have with keeping soil exposed. You see where this soil is dry and I don't have any mulch. I just haven't wanted to get a whole load from the nursery. But look what's happened. This clover weed has come in here, and when you leave bare dirt, I can guarantee you the weeds will find it eventually, and it usually doesn't take very long. So that's something that needs to be addressed. Here's Jasmine again. I've got it between these two doors. But if you look up there, it's growing through the rain gutter and it's growing over this window. That's more than I want, so I need to go in and prune that. I do that once a year. I pull it down about 12 inches below the rain gutter. But vines in general tend to push most of their growth at the top. So that's just an ongoing thing. You can see here down by the hydrangea that it doesn't want to fill in down there. That's just the nature of vines. They tend to push all their energy to the top. So I'll go in and I'll pull that, see Jasmine maintenance for how that works. Well, as you see, there were quite a few things that showed up in my yard. I'm a busy guy just like the rest of you, and I don't always get out and do the things I should when I should, so I think that's actually a great example of how most of us live. We have different priorities than going around and pulling weeds and seeing when a vine needs to be trimmed and those types of things. But you can also see from some of the examples that if you wait too long, it becomes a lot more work than it needed to be because I let something go. And so being proactive can really help. It also makes the point about good design. You know, choosing plants that stay put. That's why I don't go crazy. I don't use a lot of vines in design typically. And that's an example of how I'm trying to lower the maintenance for the homeowner. On the other hand, something like the climbing rose that you saw there, that's a plant that I love to use because it blooms so much that there's a lot of payback. Now granted, it needs to be maintained, it needs to be deadheaded, but we don't go too crazy with those, but there's a value proposition there. So I guess the lesson in this that I hope you take away is tune into your yard, see what's going on. When you see a problem, when you see a plant that's stressing out, the color is wrong, or it's blatantly dying, or it looks like it's in stress. If you have a maintenance person, talk to that person. If you have a question for me, the best thing to do is take a photo of that, email it to me and say, hey Jeff, do you know what's going on with this plant? I'm happy to help and give the advice as much as I can, and but it's better than waiting until it's just gone. So please try and be a little bit proactive in your landscapes. I think you'll find that you'll get a lot more out of them and they'll look better if you do that.